Hi, my name is Mark Braude. I'll be reading from Marguerite Duras, The War. It's a book based on diaries she kept during the Second World War as a member of the French Resistance. This is a scene toward the end of the book. It's after the liberation of Paris, and it concerns the murky question of how one is to deal with collaborators now in this time of chaos and upheaval and relative lawlessness. Duras has given herself the name Thérèse in this scene. Her prisoner is named Terre. There's also a mention of FFI, that's French Forces of the Interior. Terre is sitting beside Thérèse, who's driving. Day is in the back seat. In his right hand, he's holding a little old, small-caliber revolver, the only weapon he's got left. His Bren and his 8mm were stolen at the Richelieu Center. The revolver Day is holding is jammed. It hasn't worked for a long time. Day found it in his desk drawer, where the 8mm had been. There was no way of knowing where it came from. Thérèse, too, knows that the revolver trained on Terre doesn't work. Terre doesn't know, of course. He may have noticed that the revolver is ridiculously small, but he's too impressed by Day to suspect it doesn't work. For Terre, Day can only own weapons as perfect as his soul. Terre sits quietly beside Thérèse. It's a fine, bright day, no police. The police fought with the people of Paris and haven't resumed their normal functions since the liberation. For 3 days there haven't been any police in the streets. Cars full of FFI drive about in all directions, even up no-entry streets, going extremely fast and swerving onto the sidewalk to pass. People are drunk with freedom, overcome by a frenzy of disobedience. Terre is fascinated by the speed and the number of cars, by the guns protruding through their windows and shining in the sun. Have to make the most of it, Day says suddenly. No police yet. It happens only once in a lifetime. Terre turns around to look at Day, who is holding the revolver trained on him, and he laughs. You're right. That's Terre. Pleased because there are no policemen around. He's never liked police. The reason he feels so much at home with Day is that Day doesn't belong to the police. Terre doesn't think, it doesn't occur to him, that the fact of there not being any policemen around heralds a new era, an era he won't know. He doesn't think ahead, Terre. Terre is very interested in the gears, the acceleration, and the steering and the sunny bustle of the streets. He likes handling cars, guns, money, women. He likes anything that goes, makes a noise, is lavish. For him, the handling of a car is something fascinating in itself, especially as it's such a change from the life he's been leading for the last 11 days in the cashier's office, with the 10 other members of the militia. It really is a lovely day. And all these cars full of young men and girls, the same age as Terre, driving full tilt with machine guns and rifles aimed in all directions, make the summer more intriguing and intense. All this free, excited, victorious chaos has a long-distance effect upon Terre, who's happy to be in one of the cars and a part of all the activity, in no matter what capacity. It's probably the last ride of Terre's life. At each turn, carefully, punctiliously, Terre sticks out his arm to help with the driving of the car, taking him straight back to his cell in the Richelieu Center, from which he'll probably never emerge again except in a police van. Every so often there comes, from the roofs of the houses, the rattle of machine guns, background to bright sun and green leaves. When it's too close, the passerby huddle in doorways and laugh at the FFI going by in their cars. At one point, Thérèse turns and winks at Day over the jammed revolver, and Day and Thérèse smile. Only Terre is serious. He conscientiously puts his arm out at every turn. When Thérèse and Albert took Terre back to his cell, Terre asked Thérèse whether it might be possible to have some extra bread over and above the ration, and also a pack of cards to pass the time. He asked Thérèse this in a whisper, so that Albert wouldn't hear. Day went to the kitchen to have it out with the FFI, who were pilfering from the prisoners' rations, and Thérèse went to get a pack of cards and some bread. In the late afternoon, Thérèse went with Albert to the cashier's officer to give Terre the cards and the bread. Terre was sitting on the table, telling the other prisoners about his drive through Paris. Thérèse gave him the cards and the bread. And in the evening they found Terre sitting on the table and surrounded by 3 other members of the militia. They were playing cards. The others didn't really want to play. They played without enthusiasm. Terre made them play. Terre had a real urge to play, the urge of someone who's going to live, no less. He was sitting cross-legged on the table, forcing the others to choose cards and then play them. Then he played on his own. He threw the cards down on the table and was delighted when he won. Wham! Ace, trumps, my trick. Beside Terre on the table was a bit of bread, all that was left of the 3 loaves Thérèse had brought him. They'd eaten a lot. Terre had shared. Even Albert had a soft spot for Terre. Albert, who was so fierce with all the others. One day, when Terre was down in the hall, they found him deep in conversation with Albert. Albert was sitting in a leather armchair. Terre was sitting at his feet. "Tell me about women. How many have you had?" Terre thought. "In how long?" he asked. "The last year. How many in the last year?" 395. Then Terre and Albert split their sides, and so did they, who'd just come in, all 3 of them together. Terre was incorrigible. Even if he was to die the next day, he wouldn't have missed an opportunity to live. Terre was convinced he was contemptible because Day had told him so, and you had to believe Day. Terre was without pride. He had nothing in his head, nothing but childhood. We never knew whether he was shot or whether he survived. If he survived, he must have belonged to the section of society where money comes easily and goes easily, where ideas are in short supply, and where the mystique of the leader is the only form of ideology and excuses crime.